Hello again, and here's step 3 in the 7 steps to achieving results mini course. So in step 1, we asked you, what is it that you want? I asked you to look at your wheel of life and how did you rate each area of your life. I asked you to write down your goals and to look at your goals regularly, at least once a week, if not daily. In step 2, we looked at cleaning up your past, and we just briefly spoke about readjusting your memories. And did you go ahead and do that? Did you look at some memories that possibly they weren't the greatest of memories, but they weren't supercharged, so you didn't break out in tears, and just went and turned down the color on them, or turned them back down into black and white? And how did that work for you? Now there's a lot more you can do around that, and we'll tell you more during the NLP training. This time, we want to talk about focusing on what it is that you want. This step will take around 20 minutes to complete, so again as before, find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed and make yourself comfortable. If you're constantly focused on what you don't want in your life, then guess what? Your focus is on what you don't want. So just play this game with me. Don't think of a blue tree. Now, most people will find themselves thinking of a blue tree. This is because it's very difficult to think about what you don't want without thinking about it. Think about that. So even if I said don't think about a blue tree, you may have thought about a blue tree first of all and then went and changed the branches and the leaves to green. Often what we focus on in life is what we tend to attract into our lives. Remember we spoke about the reticular activating system? We covered that in step 1. If you want less debt in your life, what are you focusing on? Yes, that's right, debt. In that example, rather focus on riches or wealth or however you perceive it to be for you. We've already talked about goal setting and clearing up your past. If you really want to achieve your life's goals, then you need to maintain your focus on what it is that you want. This is the reason I asked you to look at and think about your goals daily, or at least once a week. Most people tend to be either motivated towards what they want, or others will be motivated away from what they don't want. Each one has its pluses and minuses. Away from people will often be good at analyzing all the potential pitfalls in an idea or a course of action so that they can plan to avoid them. An away from person may well be paralyzed by fear of potential failure. They may, when they are sufficiently far enough away from what they don't want, lose motivation. We'll just use the example and say that this person is usually successful and has made billions multiple times. Now, they also have lost all their money a couple of times over. You see, a away from person may focus on moving away from what it is that they don't want. So maybe they don't want to be poor, and so they push and they push and they push away from being poor until they get sufficiently far enough away from being poor that the motivation dies down for them. And so they're not pushing away from that poverty anymore. Then they go and create something in their life to make them poor again, or to lose all of their wealth. Towards people, on the other hand, may only discover potential pitfalls when they stumble upon them through lack of planning. So towards person will often have a more consistent sense of motivation. They'll be moving towards wealth and not away from poverty. Have you noticed how the rich get richer? Because often it's because they focus on what it is that they want. Specifically in this case, riches or being wealth. A mix of both methods to suit the situation may be ideal. So are you a towards person or away from person? Start by becoming aware of how you're motivating yourself. What is it that motivates you to do things? Is it the possibilities, the things that you can do and can achieve? Or is it what would happen if you didn't do something? So do you think, I'm motivated to go to work because I'm building a better future for my family? Or do you think, I better go to work or otherwise the boss is going to fire me? I'm not saying that one is better or worse than the other. Whichever you are may, well, tell you something about some of the things that have happened to you and are happening in your life right now. The good thing is that if things have not gone quite to plan, up until now, you can change it. Dr. Tad James said, anxiety is a warning from your unconscious mind to focus on what it is that you want. Anxiety is caused by you focusing on what you don't want in your life. It's also fear of something of the future. And the great news is that there's a way for you to be dealing with that and actually getting rid of your anxiety. So stop anxiety now. Think about something that relatively minor that you might be anxious about, like presenting a presentation at work or in front of a group of people. Now imagine yourself 5 minutes after successfully completing that event, the one that you were anxious about. Ask yourself, now where's the anxiety? If you're still anxious, did you imagine yourself successfully completing that task? If you're finding this hard, then you need to think about what it is that stops me thinking about this positively and what can I do to make it a success. If you can do something to make it a success, then do it. If you can't, which is unlikely, then at least stop worrying about it, as it's going to happen anyway. Being anxious about winning the lottery, as an example, would be out of your control. All you can do is buy a ticket. You can't do anything about the numbers that come up. Abraham Lincoln said, people are just about as happy as they make up their minds to be. So you choose. How happy do you want to be? Remember the lion in The Wizard of Oz? He followed the yellow brick road with his friends and asked the wizard for courage. He found out when he got there that he was the only one that could tap into the courage that was already inside of him. So see you next time. Remember, our success is your success. And for more information, simply visit www.coachingwithnlp.co.